remember what we saw yesterday? Massive puts coming in for IGV. Remember that? The $90, which was way out of the money, puts of size. And then the USO stuff, we really don't have such a strong. All right, so USO, I'm just going to take a look and see what we've got here. Calls bought, but they're hedging. It's tied to the underlying that came in the middle of July. And then the 11th, which we just saw yesterday, we got a bullish bet. They just came in yesterday, 811. That's $2 million worth in USO. USO is not the greatest proxy, but it is a viable one. Okay, and then anything near dated in large premium? Yes, here's 811. Someone came in with 657. Basically, they sold some calls against it. So there's a lot of calls that are sold. This is very typical hedging behavior. And then we've got more of the complex structures that are in this neck of the woods. When you see complex, it's part of another deal. It's part of another position that may not have all been placed at the same time, but overarching, it is a bullish position. So I'm trying to figure out how we can display some of this stuff so it shows that, but we can ask AI, but nonetheless, you can see USO has some bullish bent coming in yesterday, 2 million in directional calls that were purchased. All right, so what was I just talking about? IGV, on the other hand, let's just see what happened. Yesterday, we had a bearish bet. Remember that? So we had $90 puts. See how they showed up? They're now intraday. Yay! Mike has been working with the developers on Option Teller to now incorporate intraday options and 0 DTE options. They are live. So let's go over this. Yesterday, however, I saw the very large $90 puts, if you remember that. That was the biggest print I had seen in a while. It actually shows up here, and they were bought, not sold. Bearish bet. Now we got a little complex one that happened last week, and complex just basically means it's part of a bigger trade, and those legs are not on the same time frame or the same expiry or the same strike, so they are separated, but they are part of a bullish trade that was placed by the customer. And that, I'm looking at the option expiry in August, and there was another $2.5 million bet in bearish positioning for IGV. And we talked about this one yesterday. I said, if IGV is going to go down, what's going to bring it down? Do you remember? This is how the market works. It is called money flow. So what is it? PLTR and Palo Alto and Microsoft and CrowdStrike and Oracle. These are large weightings in IGV. So that's why I said, if we're going to go down, it's likely down in IGV, it is very likely we're going to see PLTR soften, for example, and it's 2.5%, 3%. We're going to see maybe Microsoft. Oh yeah, that's down 2%. And Palo Alto. Nope, nothing there. Crowd. Nope, nothing there. How about Oracle? Yeah, it's sideways. So we're still having, I want to just see how now is also down. Cadence, which we were just talking about. Okay, so that means nothing. So basically, Palo Alto is still powering higher and PLTR is softening. So that's the IGV bent. And then over here, we've got hedging, and then basically this is all July. So the positioning there, put sold, was very smart in IGV, but this is also middle or end of July. I wanted to see what was coming in for August. And for example, 2 days ago, more hedging. So this is better. I like sorting it this way because I can see that these are new. All right, what was the other one we were going to look at? Oh, gold, GLD. This is what I'm interested also. So remember when we looked at this one and there was a huge position, I don't know, 85 million, I think it was. And then there were a whole bunch of sold. There it is, 86.8 in premium calls sold. It's ginormous, right? It is like all hanging out by itself. That came in yesterday. Now, you can also see there were some other calls sold that was more likely hedging as this thing is moving higher, a risk reversal, which was more bullish on August 6th, etc. We talked about that one already. So we definitely have some positioning of calls sold, but this is clearly calls sold, right? These are big, big bets in GLD, but that one's ginormous. So now I want to see what else happened on this particular time, which is 15/27/26. You can see the timestamp right here, 2 days ago. So if I go here and I'm looking for that 15/27/26, I can see this right here. They also bought, that's a bullish bet, but they bought a few others. Here's another one, 36 million. And here's another one, 36 million. So it is not a straightforward, these are the three that are all together. These are not straightforward. They don't equal the premium that was sold of basically 89 million. So it is more bullish than bearish, but it is part of a complex order. So I actually asked Jason to help me understand this. He's on vacation, but bless his heart. This is what came in. This is actually what comes in from the provider. We have a massive amount of a complex. It's like a roll. So can you see that 111,000 contracts? This is a spread and it was rolled. And then you have another spread in here of basically 55,000 contracts. And then you have some other delta legs. Remember the calls that we saw that were large size, 35 million or, whatever in premium? Yes, this is like a complex order. This is not so simple and straightforward. It's huge order, but it is not so straightforward. It's not so easy to identify what they have intended, big picture. They can leg out of this stuff, and they have definitely rolled a big trade. So long story short, we're making do here with looking at this as a bullish positioning, but it is still a complex order of size with lots of legs. So anyway, we're at least seeing it real time now. That's important. And we can unearth that obviously this is tied based on the timestamps. And overarching, it is still more bullish, but it's definitely an institutional player. We're talking many, many, many tens of millions. Yep, market's still bulled up and gold is still bulled up or above 4,400. And momentum underneath the surface, however, is a little bit more weak. And we have retail sales on Friday. We have someone, dark pools, doing some big buying or selling. It does not tell us which direction, but it is the largest position ever in USO. We don't know actually if it is in fact red or green. I'm gonna put that in just yellow. So the largest position ever in USO, bullish or bearish, we do not know. 446 million. All right, eBay. Ooh, nice one, Archana. Very. So anything inside this 107, they announced earnings. They were doing fine. The Ryan Cohen offer by GameStop, which was hysterically unserious. He just wanted the light on him. He just wanted the light. He has a problem. Anyway, the point is it came back inside 107. It's heading down to 101 and it looks good as a short. Let's see what they're doing out of curiosity. It's also broken the 100-day. Has not broken trend yet. Look at the absolute mammoth move. I also know Tim has been long eBay, but look at this gorgeousness. Above all the moving averages that matter. Bingo, boring but profitable trade. Gorgeous. Digestion into the 10-week. Look at that. Didn't even close below the 10-week. Breakout higher. Came back in. Didn't close below the 10-week. This was back in November. Didn't close above the 10-week. Sorry, I'm doing week, but it's month. The 10-month, even during Iran war escalation, broke out higher, hasn't even come back down to the 10-month. So that's your target is 101. It's at 103.69 right now. So it's already down 2% today. It has finally gotten some profit taking. Anything under 107, coming back into 101. Maybe you get lucky and it comes down to 92. Earnings out of the way. I'm just curious, what's in here? All right, puts were sold back on 662,000 collected premium back on August 11th. And that was bad timing because that's exactly when it started to fall. Anyway, they are December, so they might reverse that. And then nothing really of size in eBay. You had a little bit come in beginning of August, 157,000 in premium, puts bought directionally. They're doing better, but nothing else of size. It's just not a playa. There isn't a lot of playing in eBay. CROX. All right. In CROX, put sold beginning of August, put sold, a little bit more hedging here, put sold. So the positioning must have been high IV and or earnings and or I don't know what, but Nike isn't doing well. ON isn't doing well. CROX would be the outlier if it is. But in any case, you can see you get late July and early August, lots of puts sold for the most part, except those that were directionally tied or hedging. Not very big player. Again, only 1.5 million. And then directionally, you've got end of July, 580,000 directional bet calls bought And that's a little bit earlier. That's a little bit earlier. This is most recently bearish put, but again, itty bitty little size. So these stick out. 580,000 just came in at the end of July, but this is not a big institutional player. 580,000 is just not enough for CROX. Doesn't mean you can't make any money. I'm just saying CROX is falling. Falling on the weekly, hasn't broken the 10-week. Back inside 132 and just did this little gap fill. So that needs to get back below 129 for CROX. Does have a head and shoulders look. And then we've got, of course, the rotation of semis, which are SMH up 2.8% or SOXX up 3.3% relative to IGV, which is down 0.93%, led by Palantir and Microsoft. That's how the game works. And those $90 puts that came in yesterday that we happened to catch are in fact for IGV. $90 puts right here came in yesterday for December at 104. $90 puts directionally bought 25,000 contracts for almost 7 million. And it obviously is a very relevant score. And they are not tied to the underlying. That was a bearish bet. And so far it is starting to print. Start your free trial today at option-teller.io.